What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Wait, What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 221. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You'll get notified when we go live, so you join in the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, like, shares, subscriptions, whatever it is. It may seem small, but does help the channel grow, so if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate you for it. Today, jumping into two different topics, going back to old wrestling that we loved, and we'll be jumping into some VR later. So let's get on into the wrestling. As of recording, WWE just had a big weekend with Money in the Bank and NXT Heatwave, so kind of wanted to run through what happened in each of those, the good things, the maybe bad thing, and just talk about ideas going forth, what happened result-wise. So let's jump into the first one. It was Money in the Bank. We did start off with the men's Money in the Bank. So we had Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, and, oh boy, who was my last one here? Why am I blanking? Drew, L.A., Jay, Carmelo, Chad, L.A. I got them all. What am I crazy? Andrade. He's right there in the photo. Is it sick? I'm butchering it right now. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Drew, L.A., Jay, Mello. Oh, they have L.A. Knight's photo here twice. That's what's mixing me up. Okay. Yeah, Andrade was that sixth one. WWE site, get your shit together so I can get my shit together. Started with the men's Money in the Bank. Per usual, Money in the Bank matches, chaotic as all hell. It was an interesting match going in because most of the participants had not been world champions before, at least in WWE side of things. Drew being the outlier here, as we would see why he was in that match. I know he's been on this vendetta of really hunting down the World Heavyweight Championship and having his struggles there, but it was really, I personally thought it was really interesting because there was a lot of pretty good potential winners here. Obviously, Jey Uso and LA Knight being probably the more probable of the group, but I wouldn't have said it was impossible for any of the other ones to win. I would say Andrade personally was a little bit on the lower end, but it would have added a nice little layer, a nice level of spice to things if he had won, just because being so out there. Chad has obviously been pushed IC title-wise and has been kind of showing up in those matches and really crushing it. Obviously, the Wyatt Six business, he may be a little tied up in. And then Carmelo being, what was he, number 1 draft pick for SmackDown? It was like, oh, well, they must have some kind of faith in him. Would have been, once again, a little bit similar to Andrade. A little bit of a surprise if he got it, but with the backing of that draft pick, that number, it was like, okay, I could understand that. Unfortunately, we went kind of the basic route here and went Drew, so Drew did win it overall. But there's some spots in here I do want to really highlight. We had Andrade was really crushing it. I thought he had a good performance. He had a springboard leg drop onto Chad Gable as Chad had an armbar onto Drew. Pretty nasty landing for Andrade as well, as the ladder was underneath him and he clipped it right on his shoulder. If you go to WWE.com and look through the photos, you can see he's got this big gash down that one shoulder blade. Luckily, it wasn't anything too bad in terms of blood, but he got wrecked with that. He also did hit a sunset flip onto Carmelo Hayes onto a bridge ladder later on with a little assistance from LA Knight in the push. Speaking of LA Knight, he delivered a big hit to Chad, and then Chad kind of hit a big hit on that him as well. He hit some kind of neck breaker onto Chad in a ladder that was kind of set up on its side in the corner, which looked pretty nasty, but then Chad gave it right back to him. Belly-to-belly suplex outside of the ring, launched him over onto that ladder bridge. Audience really enjoyed that. They wanted to give him respect, but we're still like, you kind of suck, dude, so they had a "you still suck" chant. That was pretty funny. Also, Chad kind of everywhere in this one. At one point got on top of the ladder, grabbed the area the briefcase was kind of held on to. The ladder was moved out of the way, I believe, by Jey Uso. He held on there for a little bit and then just, woo, face planted from that high distance, took a spear before I think we headed into the finale of the match. As Jey would go up there, Drew would chuck a ladder at him, take advantage, and then get the win there. So yeah, solid match throughout. Chronologically, the next match was Sami and Braun Breaker, but I'm going to just jump into the World Heavyweight title picture for here, just because these two matches kind of go hand in hand in terms of what happened, what will happen. So later on in the night, I believe it was the third match, it was Seth frickin' Rollins going against Damian Priest for the World Heavyweight Championship. I thought these two did fine. They didn't really have a lot of time, or didn't feel like they had a lot of time. Both of them were very cautious and timid throughout the thing, looking back at the stage, wondering when Drew was going to show up, as Drew had made his promises and declarations before that he was going to cash in. So I liked how they played into that like worry and fear that this cash-in was going to come and happen. And it did, not after a little bit of a kerfuffle, I guess you could say. So we have attempted Falcon Arrows. Seth attempts it on Priest. Priest reverses it, picks up Seth to try his version. Doesn't work. Seth reverses it one more time and finally lands on his Falcon Arrow that he attempts. Pin happens. 1, 2, should be a 3. Damian didn't kick out. There was a lot of buzz of like what happened there. From what I can hear, What Culture reporting from Fightful, I believe it was just an unfortunate accident. There was things going around like, oh, Damian got maybe his bell rung, looked knocked out, or if the music cue for Drew was supposed to be earlier. It seems like it was just a mistake, a mishap that happened, which is really unfortunate just because it really, I think, added to the layer of disappointment of the things that were about to happen and kind of unfold. So the non-kick out happens. Seth's visually looks like he should have won to do that pin. They then cue Drew's music. Drew comes out, cashes in, adds himself triple threat. Oh, okay, cool, whatever. You know, he said he was going to do this. And then, as things happen and unfold, Punk comes out from under the ring, beats the shit out of Drew. There's some weird exchanges between Drew and Seth and Damian as things kind of get the ball rolling, or the interactions between them. But yeah, Punk would eventually get McIntyre back in the ring, hit him with the title. Priest would hit the South of Heaven chokeslam and would retain here. As a result, he doesn't have to leave the Judgment Day. Seth and Drew, well, Seth can't go for that title anymore as long as Damian is champion. Drew pissed because Punk screwed him over again. Seth pissed because now he's involved with this CM Punk thing, and Punk's technically screwed him over. So now I got a whole nother layer to this cake. So, let's talk about it. I understand what they're doing here. I understand they felt like they needed to add another layer to this Punk-Drew feud. Obviously, they've been going back and forth at it for months with the whole injury angle, with Punk being not fully cleared for a match. I thought that's been clever. I think it's kind of reached its peak, personally, with me, where I feel like this build, while it's been good and a smart way to keep this story going while an injury is in play, I think I'm kind of getting burned out of it. And I think the biggest reason why is just because that men's Money in the Bank is null, void, wasted. I was talking with a lady as we were watching the men's Money in the Bank, and like, oh, well, this, there's rumors that this could happen, or rather, there's thought process of like Drew winning and then this whole thing, and I'm like, well, it could go many ways. There's a good way, he wins, and then, just gets cut off from cashing in, or Punk interferes in the Money in the Bank ladder match and he doesn't win it there. And I'm like, the worst angle is he's going to cash it in and then it's going to be gone. And guess what? That's what they did. It just felt crappy. Like, I get it, once again, for storyline purposes. And I get, like, I kind of am glad Seth's also tied into this. because Seth and Punk obviously have the history of not liking each other. We were almost building to that for Mania 40 prior to Punk's tricep injury. So that's like, oh, that's another layer to this. You can build a story off of another story. It's just unfortunate that that ladder match that those guys really did a great job in and put their bodies on the line. Hey, guess what? It doesn't mean anything. Like, you're just going to go out there, exude all this energy, or rather, whatever the word is, exhaust all this energy, risk your body, and yeah, it's just gone. I get it. Some people are already tied up with stories. You can have LA Knight continue his thing with Logan Paul with the U.S. title. Fine. What's Melo doing? What's Andrade doing? What's Jey Uso doing now? Like, I think Jey would have probably benefited the most from this because he's been in that world title picture. He's like always just shy of achieving it. You could have played the angle, which I know What Culture has said once again. I think it was Michael Hamflett said, like, oh, you could have this be your reunion with him and Jimmy, use the Money in the Bank for a tag team thing. If G.O.D. is like tag champs down the line for a Mania, which I know some people would like, some people wouldn't like. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But at least it's being used and a story is being built out of it. Now it's just like, we did the story part, but it's gone. Bye. It's like, oh, all right, fine. So, not the biggest fan of it. I get it, once again, in terms of escalation of this. It's just, from a personal standpoint, kind of feel like I'm reaching that point of, can we finally do something with this match? And I don't know Punk's status. Maybe we'll finally get this going at SummerSlam, and we can finally wrap this in a nice, neat bow. And then we can move on to the Seth program, I presume. But yeah, just a little bit of sour taste in the mouth there from that, just how that rolled out. And like I said, just the additive too of the missed 3 count. I know why they hadn't, or why they couldn't call it a 3, because then Punk couldn't interfere, because triple threat, there's no DQ. It's a very murky waters there with like what you could and couldn't do. So, it is what it is. I thought Finn was gonna get involved at some point too with their little backstage interaction of like, yeah, boss, I'll take care of it, but he kind of was like pissy about it. But we've kind of assumed they were gonna break up at some point. With tonight's Monday Night Raw, we'll have to see how that goes. Some rumors swirling around about someone else part of Judgment Day maybe making a return. We'll have to see. So just keep an eye on it. I'm sure, Damian and Gunther will be a great match. Hopefully Damian doesn't let this weigh on him too much with the mistake. And he can move forward and continue being great. All right, let's rewind to the second match. Let's go to the IC title. Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. Another great one. I thought this was good because while Braun is very entertaining and destructive, being just the bulldozer running through everybody, I thought this was a great opportunity for him. Sami obviously been wrestling many years, can take other people and elevate them through the matches that they do have. So I thought it was a good dance partner for Braun. Like, show people he's not just a truck that's going to spear everybody. A truck that's going to just spear everybody and be over. We don't need Brock Lesnar. We don't need a Goldberg. We don't need, these squash matches. Once again, fine every once in a while. You want to show that this person's a threat, they're dominant, whatever. But if you just do that the whole time, I don't know, maybe once again, this is just a me preference. I'm going to be like, I don't care. Especially when they're no-names. Not that Sammy's a no-name. But if you just bring in a Kale Dixon, for example, from NXT. Sorry, Kale, to shit on you right now. He hasn't established himself, right? You just brought up, okay, we need an NXT guy. Here's a level up guy. Bring him up. Do his thing. And obviously Braun's moved on from that. That was early on in this story. But what does it do for your other named talent if you're just going to break them? Pun intended, I guess. Over and over again with just quick squashes. So I thought this was a chance for Braun to show, hey, he can do these matches, which we've seen in NXT, but obviously the more general audience who maybe doesn't watch NXT day to day week to week, not day to day. What am I talking about? Week to week. They haven't seen these matches he's put on with Carmelo Hayes. He's put on with Ilya Dragunov. He's put on with Tyler Bate. This is a chance for him to show, hey, I can actually do this while still being a badass and breaking people from time to time with the spear or his power slam thing or whatever the hell he wants to do. So I thought this was a good match. We had some good spots there. Sammy's still teasing that freaking dive through corner turnbuckle DDT. Broke that up, and I'm like, come on, when are we going to get that? Surprisingly enough here, I think Breakker tries for his gorilla press slam. Didn't work out, and Sammy hit Haluva kick. Clean 1-2-3 Braun Breakker lost, and Sammy retained here. I thought we were going to commit and have Braun be the IC champion, keep this kind of ball rolling. You could still have the competitive match here. Obviously, we know Sammy, goes, but have him go out in a losing effort here. Have Braun keep going. They can do a run back, but then he can have this title, and you can still pull out these matches from time to time. Surprising we didn't decide to pull the trigger now with Breakker. I'm curious if we're going to get a run back at SummerSlam. Braun's going to bring it to another level in terms of a build to SummerSlam, in terms of like his ferocity, what he's been bringing out week to week on television, spearing the crap out of people, beating up Ricochet, blasting him through the car. Is there going to be another level of disappointment, anger, whatever it is on top of this? He's going to get even more ruthless, and then he'll be able to win it there. We'll have to see. It's another time will tell situation. A little surprised by the result, but not mad by any chance. I thought the two worked very well together. I'm excited to see more. Next, we got on to the women's Money in the Bank match. Okay. This one. Tiffany Stratton, Zoe Stark, Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Bird Person, Lyra Valkyria, and who was my last one? Uh-oh. Hold on. Why am I always forgetting the last? Naomi. I am so sorry. So, cool. Another one where it was like, there's a lot of potential here. I think out of all of them, Naomi and Io. So we had two former main roster world champions. Obviously, Tiffany and Lyra, NXT world champs. Zoe hasn't had that opportunity at a singles title. Oh, she had a chance. She hasn't won singles gold yet. And then Chelsea as well. So some potential here. This is exciting. We had, potential for where they were going to go with the result here. Some people thought there was going to be a shakeup and Chelsea was going to win this, which she got real close. Some people were thinking maybe Naomi's going to turn heel. She'll get this and then go after Bayley. Tiffy time, as we got to. Maybe that. Maybe Io's going to run it back. Maybe we're going to keep the momentum with Bird Person. A lot of options there. I will say this match got good. It did not start good. We kind of we got some comedy stuff with Chelsea. She's scared of heights, so she tried to jump and grab the briefcase. She eventually tried to, I don't know if she threw a ladder or if she tried to knock it down by lifting up a ladder. I don't recall, but that was pretty funny. But there was a few unfortunate mishaps in the beginning of the match. Lyra tried to do a walk up the ropes, tornado DDT, just stepped a little too high, missed the top rope. Her and Io recovered, and she was able to do that. Zoe tried to hit that springboard, outside the ring, springboard, weird twisty front flip onto somebody on a ladder, and I'm watching it the whole time. I'm like, Zoe, that's too close. The ladder's too close. It's too close. Totally whiffed it, clipped the back of her head on the edge of the ladder. That looked like it sucked. And then, was there one other thing? No, I think those are the big two, at least to my recollection. But once we got kind of that out of the way, the ladies crushed it. We had a very cool kind of split-legged DDT thing from Naomi between the ladders. We had a Michinoku driver from Io onto Zoe on a bridged ladder. That looked like it hurt so bad. Io just sitting there screaming, ah! She hit her thigh on the ladder. That looked like it sucked. We had an unprettier. I don't remember who. I think it was on Naomi from Chelsea. Lyra did a really cool German suplex as she hung from the ladder by her legs, grabbed Io and German suplexed her like that. That was awesome. And then, yes, Chelsea pulling a spot out of Impact, her TNA, climbs up the ladder towards the end. Tiffany says nope, climbs up next to her, pushes the ladder that Chelsea's on, and Chelsea holds her head and prayers, just prays for her life, out of the ring through 2 tables. Nailed it. Tiffany would end up winning and grabbing the briefcase, so it is Tiffy time indeed. Yeah, this one, like I said, turned out great. Start was a little rocky, but I think the ladies did a phenomenal job in this one. Seems like Tiffany's back on that momentum train. We thought, Queen of the Ring maybe was going to be her time, but things happen. So cool to see her back on this upswing. I'm curious when she's going to use this, if she's just going to hold on to it for a while. I know Nia's got Bayley at SummerSlam, so a month away. Will she cash it in then? Will she hold on to it for a little while? Hopefully she's not the first one to cash in and fail. If she is, hopefully they make something good out of it. And then we got to our main event. It was the Bloodline against Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens, a.k.a. the Jacob Fatu Show. And boy howdy, does this man kick ass. Kicked out or stood up immediately out of that draping DDT that Orton does. Bashed somebody through the barricade, I believe. No, he got launched over. Hopefully that doctor's okay that caught a foot. Yeah, Jacob looked really good in this match. At one point, to save Solo in the end of the match, he did his Whisper in the Wind, a la Jeff Hardy, which I think is important to show people. Like, I've only seen clips of Jacob Fatu on the indie scene, and I was like, okay, we need to see this. I don't know how many people in the WWE universe fandom attendance, how many people have seen this guy move. He can go, and it was cool to see. It was pretty much your basic 6-man that they've been doing, very slow paced but good. Tonga Loa, brother, back-to-back botches. That low blow punch, punching your brother right in the skull, that wasn't great. But the rest of it was solid. Solo would end up getting the pin on Cody to set up probably Cody's program for SummerSlam with those two going for the title. But yeah, I enjoyed it overall, just once again because we got to see Jacob Fatu in the ring, see what he can offer. I think it was just a taste too. I want to see him kind of unleashed, kind of take the reins off of him, see what he can bring to the table when he's in like a one-on-one match or whatever it is. Really quick, just want to shout out Kevin Owens. He's going through some family stuff with his mom in the hospital. He was there. I hope she recovers. That's just, oh boy, I can't imagine the thoughts going through his head going into this weekend after being with her the whole week. So hopefully she recovers soon. But kudos to him to being in here. And then Bloodline stuff. Just wanted to touch on this. So Hikuleo is rumored to be free agent now, potentially coming to WWE way. I don't know the legitimacy of that. It's just obviously the internet. Everybody has an opinion and rumors swirl around. I think we have to be careful with this Bloodline thing. I've been liking the new Bloodline, most of it. I think we need to be careful that we don't oversaturate it. I know a lot of people are talking about Zilla Fatu now coming in, and I'm like, hold on. What I've seen from Hikuleo, decent. Saw him in AEW, he's fine. He's tall as hell. You would think with the new members, it's kind of got to be like a what's the terminology, or what's the saying? It's like escalation, right? It's got to be proper escalation. And Jacob right now, being the Samoan Werewolf, the enforcer for Solo, like big guy who can move real fast, he's strong, can punish people, right? You gotta have, if you're gonna bring somebody else in, it's got to be another jump up, right? And you got to presume, or assume, whatever, that any new members of the Bloodline, if it's a Hikuleo, if it was a Zilla Fatu, I don't know who else there is, I apologize. The big tree, right? Anybody else you bring on this tree, you assume is going to be on the bad guy side, right? For this eventual Bloodline v. Bloodline Civil War thing, whenever that takes place. R.I.P. Sika, I guess they had his services Saturday, so Roman was busy. Makes sense. Whenever you get this Civil War thing, you're going to probably have all the new members on this new Bloodline side, right? Solo side. Because if the traditional Bloodline, let's say that, Usos and Roman, they're at 3, right? They need a 4th. Are we going to get Honorary Us back in this? I don't know. Is Cody and Roman going to do Mega Powers handshake and then we're all good? I don't know. But if you were hypothetically going to bring someone in on that side, you need someone people can get excited for and be like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. You know, they're happy, excited to see this reunion, whether it's those two. If you hypothetically brought in a Zilla Fatu to Roman Reigns' side, while that'd be cool in terms of like, oh, cool, he's really talented, whatever. In terms of an audience reaction, everybody's going to be like, I don't know who the fuck that guy is. It's a little easier from a villain standpoint to bring the unknown elements in than a good guy side, in my opinion. If we're going to circle back to like NXT days, right? And you had the people in the crowd like, hey, I'm in a suit and I'm waving here, like we had with Julia not too long ago. She's probably the most recent example. But like your Matt Riddles, your Keith Lees, who else was in there? I don't know. There's plenty of people who've been in the crowd, and I'm just botching who's actually been in there. But these good guys, these new characters, like they got a reaction because, well, it was NXT during that time, the Black and Gold brand. That was like your hardcore, like we watch Indies, we watch Ring of Honor, we watch Evolve, we watch all this stuff. We know who these people are. So then my dumbass, who doesn't know who this person is like, oh, they're getting excited. I must be excited too. Like they're gonna do something cool. When you try and do that now, especially in the general audience perspective, from a villain side, I feel that's easier to just be like, oh, here comes XYZ. They're beating up my hero. They're a piece of shit. I hate them. Not that you couldn't do that with good guys. I just feel like that more hero moment, that hero reaction of like, it's so-and-so, works better with established people. You can go back to, now granted these are all legends in their own right, go back to the Mania moment with Cody Roman, right? You have Jimmy come out. Then you got Jay come out. Well, everybody's yeeting their brains off. They're going to be happy that Jay's back out there. Then you got Solo come out. All right, everybody doesn't like Solo. Blah, blah, blah. Then you got John Cena. Well, no shit. Surprise there also, factor. Then you got Rock, old rivalry return. And then you got Seth come out and look like a bitch. Sorry, we had to make that come back. Then you got the Taker. Whoa! Once again, it's that surprise factor too. And they're a different status with Legend. But you know them, you can get that reaction. I don't know if you're going to get that reaction with, I don't know who you are, but yeah, you kicked Solo, whatever. I don't know if it measures up the same. So, long story short, not really. Be careful with bringing in new members of the Bloodline at this point. Not saying Hikuleo doesn't deserve a chance at WWE if they want him. Not saying Zilla Fatu doesn't deserve a chance if WWE want him. Just don't make it oversaturated where it's too much. Like the Punk situation. We're kind of getting to that level of like, I think Jacob Fatu's the missing piece here, or the last piece to kind of enter this. Roman's the next big when he returns with hopefully Heyman in tow. The Usos reunion will be another big moment. And then we can go from there and kind of clash this out until the final boss who has the best ideas ever and does everything. Till he comes back, then that can be a moment. And then you go from there. But then you got the 5v3, whatever. We'll figure it out when we get there. Just be careful. That's all I say. So Money in the Bank was good. However, let's talk about NXT Heatwave, which, honestly, I think they killed it. These guys did fantastic. And if you haven't watched Heatwave, you need to go watch Heatwave now and come back to this. So, another 5 matches. We did have a pre-show match with Carmen Petrovich and Ariana Grace defeating Jacy Jane and Jasmine Nix. I didn't watch it. I can't really talk about all that. But I think this was just a nice moment for Carmen and Ariana, being Canadians, to get their moment here, get a little win. They're going to be fighting on Tuesday against each other, so they're not really a team. Whatever. So, 5 matches we rolled into. We did open up with the NXT North American champion. We had Omafemi going against Wes Lee. If Wesley lost, he can't go for the North American title anymore, as long as Oba's the champion. This one started off slow, and I think the crowd also was kind of like, not that they're bad, but the interaction, or rather the reaction that the audience was doing later on, it had to build. This was a slow build, and it makes sense just because of the size differential. Obviously, Wes a smaller guy, Oba being this big giant of a man. That was the type of match they were having. Slow, methodical, beat down. Oba just wrecking Wes for a while until Wes could heat up, get his comeback, and go from there. Oba has been impressive for a while and continues to be impressive. Obviously, the size helped here. This man tossed up Wes Lee F5 style, and this man went 1, 2, maybe 2.5 spins before he planted on the ground. Absolutely insane. Later on, Wes did get a little bit momentum going towards him, hit him with the cardiac kick. Oba would kick out. He did try going for it again twice, but unfortunately his back was messing with him with the injury he's been recovering from. So Oba did recover, slam him down with that sit-down power bomb, and did retain here. But yeah, the crowd got more and more into this match as it built. From that slow kind of brooding powerhouse beat down into that, there's a chance. But unfortunately, Wes could not get the win here. So Oba did retain. We'll have to see what's next for Wes. We did see a promo later in the night where he didn't even know what he's going to be doing next. Apparently, he's going to be doing some kind of promo or addressing the universe on Tuesday. So we'll see. Does he go for the world title? Does he go main roster? He hasn't done any kind of Rascals reunion with the TNA crossover recently, which I thought they were kind of going with the whole Gallus beating up Wes Lee, and then we had New Catch Republic come to his help and aid. That seemed like it kind of wrote itself for the Rascals, but we didn't go that route, so it is what it is. Maybe that'll be the case. Time will tell. Then we had the NXT Women's North American Championship. We had Kalani Jordan going against Sol Ruca. The ladies did a great job here, too. I'm going to feel bad for not going into details, but the two gymnasts flipping and dipping around had good strings of action between them, a lot of reversals, kind of circa or kind of a la Ricochet Will Ospreay from back in the day, some sequences there. The two seemed to get more in their element and more comfortable as they were going along. But I think this was a great showing for both of them. Obviously, we've seen both of them week to week. But to have just these two stand alone and do what they do, I think this is the first premium event they've had a singles match in. I think the rest of their matches have been multi-person. So to put the faith in them, and being the first pay-per-view that the Women's North American title was defended on, I think they did a great job here. Sol Ruca at one point hit a springboard 450 clothesline onto Kalani. That was, like, stupid in the best way possible, insane. Jordan was doing great, too. She'd hit her, like, springboard moonsault, the split-legged one, to finish it. I think she did, like, a twisting jump at some point as well. Yeah. Just really good for both of these. Like I said, I'm not doing it any justice in terms of a description. Probably along with the rest of these. Very sorry. That's what no note-taking will do. Jordan did hit that top rope avalanche poison Rana. That was sick before hitting her split-legged moonsault. But yeah, ladies did a fantastic job there. Then we had the NXT Tag Team Champions. We had Axiom and Nathan Frazier going against Chase U, Andre Chase and Duke Hudson. There's been some kind of storyline going on where Nathan Frazier's like, I want to keep going in my singles career. He chased after the Speed Championship. I think he went after the Heritage Cup not too long ago. Apparently, he showed up late to the arena for the pay-per-view, so Axiom was thinking he was going to go on his own, kind of defend it in a handicap match. Well, nope, he showed up. We were fine. We were kicking ass. Crowd was really behind Chase U for this one. Unfortunately, Axiom and Nathan Frazier would retain. Just a fun match overall. I wasn't sure how much the crowd was going to be into it, just in terms of entrance reaction. But as we kept going on, there was a lot of fanfare there, which was good. A lot of fast-paced action as well. A lot of dives. Duke Hudson paid homage to Trish Stratus at one point by hitting Stratisfaction, which was pretty fun. Frazier accidentally super kicked Axiom at one point, so he thought maybe Chase U was going to take advantage there. But they were able to kind of circle it back, get that momentum back on their side as Axiom would finish off Andre Chase with a golden ratio, and they would retain. Not sure what's next for them either, because I thought maybe, they lose here with their little, not differences, but that lack of focus for the tag team titles that Frazier's been having. Not that I think either of these guys should go heel, but I thought maybe that them not being in sync would kind of disrupt that, and we could give Chase U the tag titles again. But we'll see. We got some tag team matches, I believe, coming up on Tuesday. You got the Good Brothers against OTM, and then Gallus are going against two newer gentlemen, Tyrus and Tyreek. I could be butchering their names, and I do apologize. So we got some tag teams in the making. Maybe we'll get that TNA crossover again. Maybe they can go against ABC or the Rascals or something like that. A similar team to their style. That could be a lot of fun. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. Next one, personally, wasn't my most favorite. Like, it was a good match. I wasn't really rooting for anybody. It was the NXT Women's Championship. We had Roxanne Perez going against Lola Vice. Thing I'll say here, at one point, Lola did go for a spinning back fist outside of the ring. Her finisher, Roxanne did duck it, and Lola, smacked the corner. That looked brutal. To protect Lola, Roxanne had to hit 5 pop rocks, I believe. She hit the first one. Lola kicked out. They went outside. Roxanne cleared the table in frustration. Pop rocks on the table. Didn't break. Then rolled her back in and hit 3 pop rocks in a row. Second one looked a little bad in that sequence, but that's what it is. Hit her with that 5th one. Finally put her down. So Roxanne did retain. We're going to still probably set up that Julia program, which rumored was going to happen here before Julia broke her wrist. But I think Lola did a good job here. She's done a good job in terms of promo work, and obviously had some good programs with Shayna not too long ago with the last pay-per-view. Personally, I just don't, not my biggest, people I like. They're both very talented. I just don't care that Roxanne's a heel. Lola, not my personality type of that's a character I want to cheer for. But it is what it is. It's a variety show. But the ladies did a great job here. Lola's on the cusp of winning that title, so maybe if Julia wins it, Lola can be the next contender there, or whatever the program or plan is that they have going forward. Perez, go back to being a good guy, please. Go main roster. You've done everything you can. And then we had the main event. We had the Fatal 4-Way for the NXT Championship. We had Ethan Page against Trick Williams, Shawn Spears, and Javon Evans getting bouncy. We almost fell into the tropes of the Fatal 4-Way triple threat thing, where we had 2 people fight, and then the other 2 are knocked unconscious out of the ring until we rotate somebody else in. We did that for a moment, but for most of the match, we did have them broken off into pairs, fighting, and eventually there would be a crossover move on to those grouping. I did appreciate that. I think Javon Evans definitely really did a great job here, being his first premium live event, especially after 3 months. I don't want to say main roster, but the NXT, I think he was doing Level Up before, but he's really performed well with this call up of hey, we have faith in you, let's put you in this main program. He did a phenomenal job, took a lot of risks in this match. He had a couple springboards. One, he did a springboard, was kind of launching himself back, into like a back splash almost, and Shawn Spears, being the chairman, having his chair just batted him right out of the sky. That looked like it hurt. Javon did that Montez Ford-esque dive over the corner posts. Trick Williams through the barricade at one point. Later on, Trick would push him off of the ropes as he attempted to spring in, and he would launch over to the table. Landed a little short. That looked like it hurt his ribs. But he did a phenomenal job here. Shout out to Javon Evans. Very, very good job. Spears, I would say, was probably the lacking component in this. I don't know. He was there for a reason. Obviously, he's the established guy. He can keep things under control, try and help these other guys out. Same with Ethan Page being more experienced. Trick had a good showing. Definitely breaking up pins left, right, and center to save his title. You could see the desperation in his face of what he was trying to do and how much energy he was exerting. Solid match here. It did end with Trick hitting the, what does he say? I think it's just a Trick shot. That running knee, he hit it on, did he hit it twice? He might have hit it on Javon, and then he hit it on Ethan Page. Don't remember. But yeah, he hit the Trick shot on Ethan Page. Ethan falls onto a knocked out Javon Evans. Trick off balance, gets pulled by the foot by Shawn Spears. We count the pin, 1, 2, 3. Ethan Page is your new champion. Trick looked pissed, rightfully so, because Ethan literally fell into the win. So Ethan Page is the new champion here. I'm excited to see what we do going forward with, I'm sure Trick's going to get his run back, but Javon Evans and what he's been doing, is he going to go after North American? Is he going to stay in this main title picture? We'll have to see. So Ethan did walk away all smiley, doing his thing. We get the little end credit square. We get this weird light at the bottom of the screen. The screen goes white, and then the weirdest thing happens. You see a head, whoosh, does the turnaround smile. It's Joe Hendry. We do believe. Lady and I were both like, what just happened? Thinking it was the stupidest mistake, what production mistake. No, it was legit. It's a tease for Joe Hendry making his return, going probably after Ethan Page in the title. I think it would have been a little bit more exciting if we actually hit his music and he came out. That would have been a huge pop. But yeah, we'll have to see if he's going to show up Tuesday or if it's just that's what we're going to lead into. I don't even know when NXT's next pay-per-view thingy is. Oh, crap. Hold on. Now I got to scroll and look. Heatwave's then. No, I'm not going to be able to find this fast enough. NXT. Well, they got Spring Breakin' Dude coming up, but that's normal TV week to week, so maybe they're doing it at that. I guess they could. Yeah, we'll see. So yeah, Joe Hendry coming back after his huge response and then getting dumped out of that Battle Royal immediately. But no, cool to see. I'm glad they're bringing him back. We got that tease with him and Shawn Michaels after that elimination of them talking. So this seems to be what they were chatting about. So, NXT Heatwave, I know I absolutely butchered any description of what they did in those matches. They were phenomenal. This was probably one of the most exciting NXT PLEs in quite some time. There's been some highs in the other ones, but I felt like there's been those lulls, or it hasn't been super exciting. This one felt really enticing throughout the whole thing. Even that women's match where I'm like, it's not my most favorite. I thought every match delivered. I thought they all did a phenomenal job. There was exciting factors to it. There was impressive stuff that they were doing in all of them. So if you have not watched Heatwave, you need to take whatever I said here, be like, what? Go watch it, and then be like, oh, I can understand why you just at a loss for words. Yeah, definitely good stuff that they're doing down there. So keep it up. Nice. Moving on to topic 2, let's talk about VR. So, not too long ago, I decided to treat myself. Wow, I don't know why that's chroma keying out. There it is. Decided to grab the PSVR 2. It was on sale. It was my birthday. I'm getting old. And I said, hey, why not? And I've been diving into that recently. I know we had a discussion with Joe back when it first launched, Mr. Badbit. Shout out to him in the trophy room. About his experience with VR2. And I want to just kind of add on to what he was saying and what my experience with the new headset has been like. And I have been really enjoying it and loving it so far. Haven't played VR all that often recently with the PSVR 1. It just wasn't really driving me to get back there and use that with the setup. It's not awful, but it can be a little, what's the term? What's the word? A little bit obnoxious. We'll go with that. It's a little bit of an obnoxious setup to set up the PSVR 1, so I wasn't really feeling it. But this one is definitely much easier, and the little kind of quality of life improvements they have made in this headset, very, very nice, and just kind of adds to the overall experience with the games. So speaking of the games, I have jumped into three titles I have tried out, and there's a few more that I want to try going forward. But the ones I did play Drums Rock, which is kind of like a Beat Saber meets Guitar Hero, where you are just a drummer sitting at a drum set. There's little demons that will fly at you, and you are just playing the drums to the music, hitting the beats, and kind of keeping these demons away and destroying them as they approach your drum set. This is probably the one I put the most time into, and I'm absolutely loving. Really enjoy Beat Saber, as a lot of people are, with the whole, obviously, the music that they have in there, and just the exercise and the motions that you're doing. It's just a lot of fun. It seems goofy from outside looking in, but being in that type of experience is a lot of fun. And then kind of harkening back to the Guitar Hero elements, Drums Rock is a lot of fun. There's definitely certain things I wish were better about it. Granted, it's a independent title, so this makes sense. But I wish from a song tracks list, there was more that they offered in this game. They do have some add-on content, but in terms of the base game, you don't get a whole lot of music. You get kind of this mixture of licensed music and their own music that they have acquired, whether it's other independent artists or stuff that they've made. And all that stuff is good. It just kind of gets to a point where if you play it for a certain amount of time, you're like, oh, well, I kind of hit that cap already. It doesn't feel like it has that depth that it might need or in terms of a music game. Since the post-launch content, they have added some more licensed music. Like there's like a mixed pack. I think the most recent one is like a Green Day pack. So that's been cool in addition. But in terms of gameplay, it's a lot of fun. So I would hearken it more, and I know I keep saying hearken, that sounds weird. I would compare it more to the Guitar Hero style, where you have the kit in front of you. You're not going to use the kick pedals. There's no foot controllers, but you have the 4 drums in front of you and 2 cymbals. And each of them are color coordinated, and the demons that fly at you are those specific colors, whether it's green, blue, red, purple, orange, whatever it is. That is the color of the piece of equipment you need to drum on. They got wide variety of difficulties, which if you ramp up, obviously you're definitely going to be like, oh god, I need to hit so much going on. Then it makes it challenging, it makes it enticing to play and fun to keep going after, which I do appreciate. Some of them will also, have, similar to Guitar Hero, will have 2 notes that will come at the same time, so you'll have to hit that. One really fun mechanic, so like Guitar Hero, where you had the whammy bar, where you could use that, kind of get a little bit more points in for your score, for your your run in that song. In this, through the controller, you can either have it, which I will say also, just in general, this controller pretty cool, much better than the motion wand. I think having it like this, pretty nice, very comfortable, circular controller around you, and just like the PlayStation controller. Sorry, you can either have it where you're holding this constantly, and that's like you holding onto the drumstick, or you can have it as a toggle. I find the toggle to be a little bit easier, but as you're drumming, at any point you can flip the drumstick And if you catch it, that next note you hit will add a multiplier to your score. So there's moments you just feel so badass, just whoop, bah, just hitting things during those lulls or as you get moments. It's just that rush of adrenaline of like, yeah, I'm doing things. It's so stupid, that throw catch thing in VR, but it feels so rewarding. And you don't have to launch it. You definitely can. I don't think the height or the amount of rotations your flip is going to get adds to your multiplayer. You could literally just toss them quick. But it's silly, it's goofy, and it just adds to it of like, wow, I just did that. If you drop it, which, trust me, you will drop it, you can just unsheath it like a sword and grab another stick and just get right back into it. So that's kind of nice. There's plenty of customization too. You can customize your drum kit with the different wraps that they do have available to you, or your hands as they're whipping around. You can give them different looks, which is pretty nice. I haven't got through a lot of their story mode, but for that, it's just your typical run-of-the-mill. Play the song, reach the score. There's different star levels like, oh, you hit so many notes out of the thing, or you got a streak, or you reached this score score limit, whatever it is. So you could do that. That's how you get the unlockables. That's how you get those. Yeah, overall, Drums Rock has been a lot of fun. Like I said, the only thing that's kind of that downside, that negative, is that track list. But if you like it enough and you're willing to go into the post-launch content, that definitely adds to it. I think they have right now, as of recording, 3 more they plan on doing. They haven't released any info of like, oh, it's going to be themed after XYZ, whatever it is. But we'll have to see. So that's been the first one. Then the next game I played was Tentacular. Tentacular is, you're an octopus. You're adopted by this family. I think you're 16 now, and they're like, hey, you got to get a job. And now you got to go and try and find a job for you, the octopus man, to go do. And you're not like Octodad, where you're a human-sized octopus. You're just a giant sea monster like the Kraken around this floating island of little, like, they look like the little people, it was like Playmobil or whatever. They just got like the cylinder bodies and the circular heads, and they're just bopping around or whatever. Very goofy in concept. I played a little bit of that. I think the first job that I had was like taking these carrier, what do you call them? Like containers, the big shipping containers that they bring materials in. Taking those and like sorting them and chucking them at different targets and whatnot. Very funny in terms of the dialogue that the characters are saying. I want to jump back more into it. And this is a little bit of a segue from the games, but this is something I will say in comparison to VR1 that I noticed was a little bit different in VR2. So stepping away from the games, with VR2, you can play it different ways. You can play sitting, you can play standing, obviously depending on the game and what they allow you to do. But one thing you could do here is you can craft or build a play area. So for my experience personally, so far it's been playing it where my desk is at. So, get a little space around me. But as you're setting it up, you can use this like see-through, I don't remember what they call it. It's like, it might just be see-through, passive, whatever it is. So you see through the cameras all black and white, and you can draw your play area. So like, this is a wall, this is where the floor is, I only want to go this amount of distance and whatever. And it's really nice that you could do that, because it will show you in game like, hey, you're getting close to something, we don't want you to trip over anything. So that's been really nice. Some games need a lot of space. Tentacular was one of those games. But I haven't had any issue, with that so far. One thing I have noticed that's a little bit different outside of that play area, which is a plus, that's huge. I don't know if it was just this game in particular, but I tried messing with the settings a little bit. So turning, you can either do what is the default, which is like, I don't know if they call it smooth turning or what they call it, but it's essentially you hitting the right stick on the controller, and you will pivot in-game. You don't have to actually turn. That's the default. I decided to try, well, what if I move, right? And I look. And that does happen, and that's fine. But if it's like a big turn, like I'm facing forward, I need to face 90 degrees or maybe even 180 degrees, you can do that quick turn, right? Or you can do it yourself. There's something called smooth turning. Now, this, you don't have to move your body. I think I misspoke earlier. Smooth turning, you're not moving your body. But what you're doing is you're moving the right analog stick, similar to probably, any first-person shooter you have played or first-person game, where you hit it and you go, ooh, and, the whole camera gradually moves over there, right? I tried this. When you're standing still, whoa, that messed with my head so much. I was like, I'm getting dizzy. I might fall. So I had to toggle that back right away. But that was the first time I really experienced that. And I don't know if it's just maybe games I played on the PSVR 1, I wasn't really messing around with those settings. Maybe it was just something here. I was like, hey, let's try it out. Oof. The rest of the night I was playing there, it was like, ugh, feeling a little nauseous. Not anything bad, but I was just like, I feel off. Maybe I should stop playing. But in terms of the gameplay itself, circling back to Tentacular, had a lot of fun with it. Haven't played too much of it, just because, once again, that experience I had with the turning and trying that out. But that's one I'd like to jump back into. Like I said, space-wise, maybe I didn't have the most of it. But it seemed like a fun, silly story that they were telling here, with the goofy physics of the giant tentacle arms that you are controlling, trying to suction cup things up, move them around, organize it, whatever it is. So that was fun. And the last one I played was Horizon Call of the Mountain. Now, I've played Horizon Zero Dawn, absolutely loved it. I haven't played, kind of dipped my toes into Forbidden West. So I know the world here, but I don't know everything about it. Forbidden West was... No, sorry, Call of the Mountain. Get your titles right. Call of the Mountain was really, really cool. Firesprite did a phenomenal job with this, of like really immersing you in that world and making you feel like you're there. Like, I got nervous at how real everything looked. I'm like, oh God, some robot is going to jump out at me. I'm going to be so panicked right now, and it's going to be death all over. Well, not all over, but just like experiencing that with the robots. So you start this game, and you're like a prisoner from a rival tribe, and you're with, I presume, what Aloy's group and tribe is. I don't recall the name of the tribe, and I do apologize. But you're with them. They're transporting you on this boat through this river to wherever, they're trying to take you prisoner, I guess. And it looks great. Just seeing all the foliage around you, the water ripples moving past you, when you do eventually see the different robotic animals around you, whether it's a tall neck, those giraffes that like literally walks over top of you was insane. You saw some crocodile, or what are these, snapjaws? Whatever the crocodile ones are. Seeing those in the water bump your boat a little bit. It was insane. It's very cool to experience. Kind of felt almost like a theme park type experience. Had a lot of fun with it. Eventually you do break free due to the animals kind of disrupting your boat and hunting you down a little bit. And as you're going through this, a lot of this game, if you played, well, quite a few games, but like your Uncharted, your Horizon, your Assassin's Creed, a lot of these games deal with climbing. So you're going to be climbing. That climbing is really cool because you are in control of your hands fully. You have to figure out how to grip, pull, launch yourself at some points to reach higher things. So much fun. Looking down, maybe not so much fun. But the experience of climbing those mountains felt really, I don't know if this is the right word, but visceral. Felt really just rewarding, and like you're really in depth and involved in what you're doing, and it was a lot of fun. I did play around a little bit with the combat. Haven't met any of or had an interaction yet with any of the robots, so I don't know how that one-on-one combat will be, if it will be too stressful just dealing with that at the time. But shooting some targets down and using the bow there was also very rewarding. You feel the tension in the bowstring as you're pulling that back, and it feels really cool to actually hit your shots. And you could do it, whatever way you want to hold the bow. If you want to hold bow left, hold it right, pull with whatever hand. You can switch at any time. Don't even need to be in the settings. You could just, however you control those things. You can toggle that on and off, whatever, which is really nice. Another one I dipped my toes in just from how I was feeling the rest of that night, from trying to deal with the turning there. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. So yeah, overall, VR2 has been a fun experience. I'm looking forward to diving more into those games and playing that, whether it's even just the simple, get some exercise in, whether it is playing through Beat Saber again or the drums rock or whatever. But there's some other fun experiences I'm looking forward to try out. Heard Pistol Whip is great. Before Your Eyes, I know everybody talks about that being an emotional journey. So looking forward to playing that. Synapse, I heard, is a great story involved with that one. So looking forward to diving more into those experiences here with the second headset. And yeah, just the improvements that they've made there. The headset overall, I'd say, is more comfortable. I like the blinders a little bit better. They do definitely keep things out. The haptic feedback in the headset, a little weird, not gonna lie. Feeling that vibration there. You can toggle that off. I decided to keep it on for now just to see how it was, but that was interesting. The new controllers are definitely nice. Like I said, with it being so similar to the classic controller, and then having these other buttons around where it's just natural of I'm gonna click here, I'm gonna do that, whatever it is. That was very nice. So looking forward to trying that out more. I know PlayStation soon, or is going to be putting out an adapter to use this with your PC. So that just opens a whole nother breadth of games, to be played through that headset. So that'd be interesting. I'm sorry, I did talk about it earlier with the kind of janky setup of PSVR 1. So with that, you had to set up this whole chain of HDMIs. It was 3 of them, and then it was that long cable into your headset. This headset still cabled in. It does give you a decent amount of length, so you won't be super close to your console. But the setup, one plug right into your PS5, you're good to go. Absolutely love that. That's very nice. So you don't have to unplug the whole thing like you did have to with your PS4 to set this up, and reset it back up when you're not using the headset. This one, just plug in, you're good to go, as long as you obviously power on the headset and everything's charged. Ready to go. Perfect. Very, very nice. So I've been really enjoying the PSVR 2. If you guys have been jumping into any VR experiences or have any questions, because I know not everybody wants to do that, let me know in the comment section down below. We can chat about it more. But guys, this has been another episode of the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 221. I don't normally do that at the end, but here we are. My name's Bret, aka Enigma9011. Appreciate you guys hanging out today. If you want to catch this podcast live, you can always go over to twitch.tv/Enigma9011. You can drop a follow over there. You join on the fun and conversation with us. But if you can't catch live, that's a-okay. Go over to YouTube and podcast services the very next week, where it's broken out topic by topic and put as one big video and MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, any way you can support the show, likes, follows, shares, whatever it is. It may seem small, but it does help the channel grow. So if you take the time to do that, we would love and appreciate for it. Hope you guys enjoyed the two, I'd say, wide variety of topics today, differing topics today. Hope you guys had a good time with that. Thanks for giving this a watch, giving it a listen. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.